Hello, everybody. I'm Jeremy Siskin, and I'm here with Leah Booth.
Hi.
And we are here for, the second in our series of talking about pianists and vocalists working together. And today we're going to be talking about ballads, and we're going to be using Hoagy Carmichael's beautiful ballad, Skylark, as our demonstrator. We do want to share that Leah has a new album out. Leah, show them the cover for your album. It's called Life is Beautiful. Ta-da! Life can be beautiful, I'm sorry.
Life can be beautiful.
Life can be beautiful if you listen to this album,
Yes,
right?
it can.
Otherwise, I don't know, man. Okay, so we're going to start out talking about rubato ballads. And I think it's important as you think about rubato ballads, we mean something a little bit different in jazz when we talk about rubato than you might be used to if you're from a classical background. So in a classical background, rubato, we sometimes think about like the swaying of a ship. Like we're going to give a little bit and then get a little bit more back. But in jazz, I like to think of rubato as specifically like a start-stop rubato. It's almost like there's fermatas all over the place. We're kind of just going to go through the piece phrase by phrase. So the first version I'm going to give you, I'm just going to be really playing chords. And when I do that, I'm thinking like an orchestra. Like if someone had orchestrated this piece, for a movie or something, I'm going to be the strings, just kind of coming in with beautiful pads. Let's see how that goes. And then we'll go from there. Okay, so here's a little bit of rubato ballad on Skylark.
Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Oh, Skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring, where my heart can go a-journeying over the shadows and the lane to a blossom-covered lane?
All right, I hate to stop before the bridge because the bridge of that song is so good, but we'll be here all day if we keep doing it the whole way through. So, first of all, Leah, how did that feel for you?
We talked about this in the last video, but the space that you are allowing makes me want to also give space. And it feels like I don't have to over express. I don't have to sing too many notes. I can just lay back and listen to you and respond, and we work together that way. It feels very comfortable.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the space because that's one of the biggest problems that I see pianists have is that they'll try to fill every little nook and cranny, or they'll be uncomfortable with silence. Space could be a held chord or it could be silence. But I would advise you to not be so afraid of silence, especially in these times. The other big mistake that I see from pianists, and I'm certainly not saying that I'm perfect. I got behind a couple of times. Actually, I got a little bit surprised by your phrasing, which is good. That's what we want to do. But a problem that I see from pianists is that they insist on playing every chord as it goes by, right? And sometimes rubato means not slowing down, it means speeding up. And she's going to really go quickly through a phrase. And if I'm trying to catch every chord in order, then I'm like going bam, 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 bam. And not only does it make the music feel rushed and stressed instead of nice and relaxed, but it, you can actually, I often see pianists actually get behind by a couple of chords or have to like play 5 chords in a row in a break instead of just having that pad. I want to demonstrate, it's a little bit of an experiment. I'm going to now leave no space. I'm going to hold all these chords through. Let's see how that makes it feel different, okay?
Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Oh, Skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring where my heart can go a journey over the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane?
Leah, I feel like if I'm doing this right, it feels like a warm bath.
Yes.
like we're just kind of enveloped and like cozy together.
I think I actually am a little warmer. I don't know. I get like closer to the microphone and I feel very cozy.
Yeah, actually, I noticed in that second A section, you kind of you got a little bit more intimate.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, let me get into the sound a little bit more, which is so cool.
Yeah.
I messed up. I'm so used to leaving these spaces that one of those times I left silence. But yeah, how did it feel different? Are you able to articulate it with held chords rather than silence?
Well, I will say, what you were playing was so pretty that I forgot a lyric for a moment because I was caught up in what you were playing.
I'll take that compliment.
That was so pretty. That was the first half of the A section.
Yeah, so maybe that way you were just able to enjoy the sound a little bit more.
I think so. Mm-hmm. For me, I'm comfortable both ways.
Yeah.
I think I got into the felt like I could hold notes out, and it didn't have to be like when there's a lot of space, I tend to get really staccato.
Interesting.
Lots of separation between notes. When you're padding in the space, I feel like I want to hold out notes and sustain stuff longer. I don't know. I've never thought about it before, actually, because I'm a very feel-driven vocalist. I use my ears and my body, and that's what informs my singing. And it's interesting to think about it this way.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was giving me kind of this other thought that, in terms of the interaction, there's, I'm sure, a million ways, but I can think of like two kind of branches of how we could interact. And we're going to keep coming back to this idea of call and response because that's what a duo so often is.
Yeah.
So one way that we could interact is really you sing a phrase, I play a response, versus I could be trying to catch you. And I think both can work. I find people messing up more when they're trying to catch the vocalist. And there are some schools of singing that I've heard about, and I'm not saying this is good or bad or anything, just reporting that where they really don't like the pianist playing at the exact same time as their vocal. Have you heard about this? Because they say it like deadens whatever the consonant is. Like it makes it harder to hear that consonant.
I mean, that makes sense to me.
That makes some amount of sense. But it's also kind of nice to be together sometimes.
I agree.
So let's try another two A sections. And the first time, I'm going to try to be with you. And
Okay.
so some vocalists like giving cues.
Yeah.
You generally don't do that. Or at least I don't think so.
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Yeah. But let's try it the first time. Really cue me in so that we come in together.
Okay.
And then the second time, we'll wait for each other.
I'll move my head a
You'll
lot.
sing a phrase, and then I'll play a response.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to start playing a little bit more melodically.
Yeah.
So that it's a more ample response to her melodic phrases. We're just experimenting here. Let's see what
Having
happens.
a good time.
All right. So first A is cued. Second A is call and response.
Okay. Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Oh, Skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring where my heart can go a journeying over the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane?
So two very different approaches,
That
right?
was
In
nice.
those
That was
two
really
A
nice.
sections.
I find it's when singing rubato, it's difficult for me because I'm so in the moment. It's hard for me to think, oh, I got to cue you here. I got to cue you here because then it's a lot of head movement for me, and it's all over the place because I'm
Right.
just expressing. That's all I'm doing. That's interesting.
And,
thought about that.
you know, a couple of those times, especially when the phrase starts with a rest, I did need a cue.
Yeah.
But, you know, when it's in the middle, I can kind of see where you're going to sing it, especially because I'm looking at the camera right there.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can see where where the word is going to be. And so I don't, like, need a physical cue in the middle of a phrase when you're singing a word.
Yeah.
You know, I know some vocalists, and I'll get who like to cue just with their hand
Mm-hmm.
behind them. This wouldn't work so well just because you're a little bit behind me here. Yeah, we can't necessarily see that. So it's total personal preference. Some vocalists love to be in control, right?
Yeah.
Some love to have it the same way every time, have that chord exactly where they expect it. And, you know, if I'm playing for one of those vocalists, I want to be there for them in that way, right? It's my job to make them comfortable so they can express the song. My feeling is that you kind of actually prefer to be more interactive. And
That is correct.
And we had a little bit more fun, I think, on that second A section when
Yeah.
we were less stressed.
Yes.
So in all of these scenarios, I'm mostly playing two-handed, shared hands voicings in this like really rich bass and chord register of the piano. I want to show you a very different version where I'm going to think more orchestrally. I'm going to think like winds and maybe, you know, some violins up in the upper register. Just to show you how, you know, especially a song like this. So a couple things about this song. It's a weird song, right? It's a question song, right? You're asking something of this bird. But there's all this interesting figurative language, a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed. So to me, there's something kind of cinematic about like painting this picture. So I'm going to try to lean into that and play more orchestral, almost like I'm doing a film score for this. And we'll think more in that call and response sort of way. And I'm going to try to stretch some of these, I'm going to try to stretch some of these responses out. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
All right, experiment number 5? We'll see.
Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Oh, Skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring, where my heart can go a journeying over the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane? Oh, I like that.
You liked it.
That was gorgeous.
Cool. Yeah.
Oh.
So, a few things, you know, more upper register for sure. Thinking about birds, thinking about what's a bird called, you know, and trying to
Love
play
it.
with that kind of imagery, or even, you know, chirping crickets in this register of the piano.
Love
And then some staccatos makes it playful. And we had this really nice moment, I thought, at the beginning of the second A section where I was kind of playing these staccato,
Yeah.
and it kind of ended up creating this longer phrase that you could sing your first two phrases of
Yeah.
the melody over. So
I love that.
yeah, just thinking more orchestral, cinematic. How do we set the scene? Cool. We're coming up on 15 minutes, and I don't want to end this without doing a full version because we gotta get to that bridge.
Oh,
So let's try to put some things together. I don't have a particular like prompt for this version. You guys can listen or not. We'll see what we come up with. One more time, this is Leah Booth, who has a new album out called Life Can Be Beautiful. She's going to be back for so many more tutorials, all day tutorials.
It's never going to let me leave.
Never. I've locked the doors. Sorry.
Save me.
So here's a full version of Skylark. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe. You know the drill.
Skylark, have you anything to say to me? Won't you tell me where my love can be? Is there a meadow in the mist where someone's waiting to be kissed? Oh, Skylark, have you seen a valley green with spring, where my heart can go a journeying over the shadows and the rain to a blossom-covered lane? And in your lonely flight, haven't you heard the music of the night? Wonderful music, faint as a will-o'-the-wisp, crazy as a loon, sad as a gypsy, serenading the moon. Oh, Skylark, I don't know if you can find these things, but my heart is riding on your wings. So if you see them anywhere, won't you leave